Hey golfers, Peter Finch here, and today we are talking about a shot that gives golfers so many problems, and that is a simple chip from around the green, off tight lies, but also when hitting into tricky situations like this, where you have to carry a certain amount of grass and then land on the downslope of the green. We have a couple of unique tips here which you may not have heard before, which can definitely help you with your game. First of all, we have to ask ourselves, why does this type of shot give golfers an issue? A lot of it is down to expectation. So when you're around the green like this, you're expected to be able to hit this ball relatively close to the pin. And that's where nerves can start to set in. Also, if you are a poor chipper of the golf ball, you'll probably have quite a lot of scar tissue to carry round. And maybe hitting a putt over this distance might not seem like a bad idea. Now, bad shots will tend to fall into one of two categories. Either you will thin the ball and blade it over the green and into more trouble, or maybe even worse, you'll hit a dreaded fat. Just want to say a massive, huge shout out to Bob Vokey and the V-Grind. I hit so far behind that. Now, to conquer these challenges, we can adjust our technique to give you the best chance of hitting some good shots. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is a toe down chip shot. So normally when you're hitting shots around the green, the bottom edge will be lying pretty flat on the ground. Now, what I propose is if you want a clean strike and you want to ensure that you can move away from that fat, we can actually lift the heel of the club up and move the toe down more towards the ground, or toe down chipping. Now what happens is as the toe moves downwards towards the ground, it limits the chance of the club digging into the ground. And the technique is actually quite simple because it's probably one that you've used before in your putting. So firstly, grip further down the shaft on your wedge. I have a lob wedge here, but you can use this with your sand wedge, with your gap wedge, to an extent with your irons, although it does become less effective. Move in nice and close to the golf ball. So we don't want to be too far away where it's tempted for the hands to drop lower. We want to be moving in nice and tight. I'm going to put the ball position here just towards my back toe, but then I'm going to use my putting technique, but just extended. So rocking the shoulders back, rocking the shoulders through, trying to minimize the amount of wrist hinge that goes on. Now what this should ensure is a nice clean strike on the ball. Do it for me. Do it for me. Break, break. Now the reason I really like the toe down chipping method is it's simple to repeat, but it could also be used from different distances. So from just off the green to about, I don't know, maybe 20 yards back from the pin. It's limited by the amount of wrist hinge that you can cancel, but the amount of shoulder turn that you can apply. After a while, it just becomes a little bit strange. The technique becomes a little bit unusable once you get to longer distances. But around the green, it is so simple just to pop the ball up and just let it release. And the strike is just so consistent. And this is also a technique which is employed by some of the very best players in the world. This isn't a quick fix or something which you should feel ashamed or embarrassed about using. You know, this is a technique which some of the very best players in the world do use. Do it, do it. That was a little bit thin. Now, as well as the toe down chip, another technique used by some of the very best short game exponents in the world is adjusting the grip. In effect, making it a little bit weaker than normal to try and maintain loft on the club. Now, to do this, what you want to be doing is taking, first of all, your normal grip. Then take your right hand away, if you are a right-hander, your bottom hand, and place the grip of the club up through the lifeline of the lead hand, and then pop the left hand back on. It will return in a weaker position, so you could only see one knuckle when looking down. And then place your right hand on, and that will also be more to the side of the grip as it adjusts. This is a weaker grip. It will probably feel a little bit more similar to your putting grip. Now, as mentioned, when you take a weaker grip, that allows the club face to stay open a little bit more through the technique. If you're someone who struggles with fatting your chips, you could be holding the club face closed in your backswing. Now, if the club face is closed, that can often lead to the hands being shoved miles ahead at the point of impact and hitting the ground before the ball, or a fat shot. So take that weaker grip and just keep the ball position a little bit back of center in the stance. Now you can see my stance is also quite narrow. Then what I'm going to do is put a little bit of weight on my lead side. So I'm looking about 70% of weight on my lead foot. And I'm going to try and keep it there throughout the technique. Taking that weaker grip, and I'm just going to try and move my shoulders back and through. Nice and simple, not a lot of wrist hinge, and just let that club face open and pop the ball up nice and cleanly as I come through impact. Now with this shot, I'm actually still striking slightly down on the ball, but because the club face is staying open, I feel a lot more comfortable utilizing the bounce, and the club isn't digging into the turf. It's really hard to hit shots and talk. And as you can see, I'm pitching directly onto a downslope here, but I'm still managing to get that little bit of spin, that little bit of stop. Do it for me, go, go. God, that landed perfect spot. And if you are someone who does struggle with those fats and those thins, taking a lot of the wrist hinge out of the chipping technique can help. Now, if you're just off the surface and you're using a lower lofted wedge, having a little bit of a hinge technique with the ball right off the back stance, it can work. It can just stab the ball forward and you can get a low little shooting shot. However, if you are struggling with the contact, having a toe down technique and having a weaker grip can definitely help you with the consistency. Oh man, whacked. Okay, hold this to close the video, come on. Weaker grip, move those shoulders back and through. Oh, what a kick! Oh! Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this can help improve your chipping. If you've not tried out these two techniques before, please give it a go. The toe down one especially can be transformative for many, many golfers. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do, and make sure you like this video. To continue your swing quest and improve your short game further, check out these videos here.